eternal life. That's what's promised to the elect. All right, all Israel, but it starts with the elect. And that's how the earth will be governed by immortals, perfect angelic forces who are going to come down and rule on earth. Extraterrestrial bodies will be able to do things that humans do, but in heavenly bodies, like eating, drinking. Did not Yahushua say he's going to drink wine with us in the kingdom? Well, how do you drink wine with a spiritual body? Well, we're going to have out of this world capabilities in those new bodies.
For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he's able even to subdue all things unto himself.
And the last thing he's going to subdue is death, which means we're never going to die. Just like Yahushua can't die. He's immortal. Like he said, I live forevermore. Well, we're going to be the same way. Remember, Romans the 8th chapter, we're going to be joint heirs with Yahushua, meaning all the things that he inherited, we're going to inherit. And one of them is immortality. Now, how powerful is that, brothers? So we're going to go from this fucked up apartment that we're in, this body. Imagine this body as being a real slum hole, okay? That's what we're in. I mean, a real slum hole. Imagine going from that to a polished mansion. How about that? A polished mansion. That's what's going to happen when Yahushua comes back.
For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he's able even to subdue all things unto himself.
Because we're never going to die. Once we put in those bodies that Yahushua is going to bring, we're never going to die. We're never going to be sick. And that's going to fulfill the scripture in Revelation where it is written, he shall wipe away all tear from their eyes. And that pertains to us Israelites, beginning with the elect. See, this is part of our glory, you know? So it ain't just the kingdom of heaven, all right? That's adding to our glory, the kingdom of heaven. The main glory, if you ask me, is being put in a body where you're 100% perfect. You can't tell me that that doesn't eclipse all glory. Being put in a body where you're 100% perfect after experiencing the nightmare that we experience in this body. Okay?
For our conversation is in heaven, from whence also we look for the Savior, the Lord, who shall change our vile body, that it may be fashioned like unto his glorious body, according to the working whereby he's able even to subdue all things unto himself.
All right.
Oh, hey.
All right. Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS, whom rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful leg out there pushing his word and truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah, pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful leg, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shah. And what I want to get into, all right, this morning, all right, is going into the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Okay, just continuing on, on the series, how the Lord, he put one down and set one up. If a brother can post those precepts in the book of Psalms, the 75th chapter, all right, verses 4 through 7, Baba Shah. And I'm going to cue up, the video dealing with the Neo-Babylonian Empire. And, I find, the history, dealing with these empires in the book of Daniel, 7th chapter, I find it interesting because the Lord shows you that when it's time for one nation, all right, to go down, all right, pretty much nothing works in their favor. Okay, and when it's time for a nation to be, all right, set up, everything works in their favor. All right, and that's the will of the Lord being executed in the earth. All right, so that's why we see now with Esau, Edom, things are not working in his favor, but for us, everything is working in our favor. Because it's happened according to what's written. Everything Esau doing is within the prophecy, okay, that we read and teach, okay, on a daily basis. Okay, so I just find the history interesting, and it's a faith booster for me. Lord will, it's a faith booster, for you brothers and you sisters, that watch. So we're gonna go into it. Dealing with the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Let me cue it up. Like I said, brother can post it in Psalms for me, 75 verses 4 through 7. Okay, and just kind of set the tone, as we go into the lesson. Let's see.
I was just going for a drive, which is wild because up until very recently,
Kind might gaze.
When advertising on YouTube, I know that making an authentic video with a clear call to action is the key to getting results.
All right, so this is from the brother Quanah Waff. GMS pray always hope for elect, Psalm 75:4. And it says, I said unto the fools, deal not foolishly, and to the wicked lift not up the horn. Okay, and the horn is your power. All right, lift not up your horn on high, speak not with a stiff neck. And what we see is when these nations are set up, eventually they become proud and they have a stiff neck, towards what, man? Righteousness. They become corrupted, and wicked. All right, and the Lord would remove them. Okay, and we're going to see this dealing with the Neo-Babylonian Empire. All right, now this is the book of Psalms 75:6. It said, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. All right, and that's every direction in the earth was letting you know, all right, that promotion doesn't come from within the earth. It comes from, all right, the Most High. It comes from above. Okay, but the Most High is the judge. He putteth down one and setteth up another. Okay, so the rulerships of the earth are all predetermined, all right, by the Most High. Okay, he decides who's in power, okay, and how long they remain in power. And that's what's so beautiful about the gospel, is that we have a kingdom, promised that will never end. Okay, these heathens, they all have, limited rulerships in the earth. Well, our rulership will be unlimited. Okay, so let's go to the video. And you brothers feel free to post any information or any pre-sales you see fit. All right, so let's get this. And like I said, this is a pretty good channel. History with Sai. I watch a lot of his content. Dealing with history. So I just leave a link. Brothers want to watch. And subscribe. And, kind of do their own research or studying. But like I said, I watch them quite often. And they got pretty good content, straight to the point. Yeah. So yeah, brothers, feel free. If they want to do their own studying, this is your thing. Yeah, let's get this. Yep, the water, brother. All right, this is the brother GMS prayer always hopeful leg. Daniel. All right, 2:20 said, Daniel answered and said, blessed be the name of the Most High forever and ever, for wisdom and might are his. Verse 21, and he changing, all right, the times and the seasons. He removeth kings and setteth up kings. He giveth wisdom unto the wise and knowledge to them, all right, that know understanding. Okay, he removeth kings and setteth up kings, man. And this is pretty much history is a testament to the Lord removing and setting up kings, man, according to his liking. Okay, in Babylon, in the kingdom of Babylon, he really, proved that point. All right, with Nebuchadnezzar, which we're going to get into those things. But let's start off here. All right, so we know that the Neo-Babylonian Empire, all right, would emerge, okay, out of the Assyrian Empire. Okay, matter of fact, I'm glad I said that before we play the video. Let's get that in Daniel, the 7th chapter. Let's get straight to the point. Daniel. Okay, this is the book of Daniel, chapter 7 and 4. If a brother can post the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 4. Okay, and then we'll go into the video. Okay, because we just want to drive home the point, that the Lord is directly, all right, directly making Daniel 7 and 4 happen, real time when we go into these things. Okay, it's happening exactly, how the Lord said it will happen, and that's, just proof of the Lord showing that He is. Okay, just so we can get an understanding. Thing. Everything else is set to go. All right, now this is the book of Daniel, chapter 7, verse 4. All right, this is from Brother Corner Waff. It said the first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. Okay, those eagle wings represent the Syrian Empire, which we went into that. Okay, but the lion itself represents the Babylonian Empire. It says, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth. All right, and made stand upon the feet as a man. Okay, and a man's heart was given unto it. So the Syrian, those wings were plucked. Okay, and that was, all right, the Syrian Empire being removed. Okay, and the Babylonian Empire standing up in its place, because the Babylonians, were, subjugated to the Assyrians. Okay, but we're going to see how the Babylonian Empire stood up, okay, in the place of the Assyrian Empire. All right, the water for that, brother. So let's play it.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of History with Sai. We've come a long way, from the city of Babylon's early beginnings to its first real period of greatness under Hammurabi, followed by the relatively stable and prosperous Kassite period, which later led to over a century of Assyrian rule. Now, we come to the really short, though arguably most famous period in Babylonian history, that of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. If you've seen or even listened to a handful of programs on this channel, especially those focused on the history of ancient Mesopotamia and the Levant past the Mid-Bronze Age, then you've no doubt heard of the Assyrians. We've encountered them several times in the history of the region from around 2000 BCE onward. By the early Iron Age, they had established what scholars call the Neo-Assyrian Empire and ruled unchallenged across the Fertile Crescent for several centuries.
Bluehost has step-by-step WordPress onboarding to make creating and run.
What we call the Neo-Assyrian period kicked off around 900.
Try to let it catch up a little bit, kind of trying to lag. So like you.
Between the years 745 to about 650 BCE, Assyria was at its height and firmly entrenched in Babylonia, the land to its south. Though there were several periods of rebellion, the Assyrians were always able to smash any dissent and rule the country, either directly or through proxies and puppet rulers. Unfortunately, establishing such control at times also resulted in the city of Babylon being destroyed and having to be rebuilt on several occasions. The last great king of Assyria, Ashurbanipal, died around the year 630 BCE, which left the Assyrian Empire in the hands of his young heir, Ashur-etil-ilani. Too young to rule on his own, for a while, the chief eunuch, who was not a member of the royal family, took over as regent before usurping the throne for himself around 626 or 625 BCE. He, though, only lasted for a few months before being replaced by Sin-shara-ishkun, another one of Ashurbanipal's sons. By then, though, the apparent weakness and instability within Assyria's ruling house had taken its toll on many parts of the empire. In 627 BCE, Assyria's puppet ruler in Babylon, Kandalanu, died, leaving the Babylonian throne unoccupied. Babylonian Chronicle 21 states that for 1 year there was no king in the country, after which a new ruler by the name of Nabu-apla-usar, better known to us as Nabopolassar, started his reign on the 26th day of the month Arasamnu, which on the Western Gregorian calendar would have fallen on November 23rd, 626 BCE. Obviously, the Assyrian king at the time, Sin-shara-ishkun, didn't recognize Nabopolassar and chased him south all the way to the city of Uruk. Many believe that Nabopolassar's family may have actually been from there, and so the city, which was in the Sealand province and a Chaldean stronghold, would have provided the new king with some shelter and protection against his Assyrian adversaries. For a few years, the two sides seemed to have battled over the city before at last Nabopolassar could claim a final victory there. By 620 BCE, it appears that he was in control of most, if not all, of Babylonia, including the holy city of Nippur. This, though, didn't necessarily mean that Babylon and Babylonia were safe. While the Assyrians had been weakened, centuries of conflict between the two great rivals had shown that a resurgent Assyria could return at any time. One only had to look at the last century for examples of Assyria's vengeance on Babylon. The most notable instances, just in recent memory, being Sennacherib's destruction of the city around 681 BCE, as well as Ashurbanipal's conquest a few decades later in a civil war against his brother, Shamash-shum-ukin. There was little that Nabopolassar could actually do. This was the Assyrian Empire we're talking about, the most powerful state in the known world at the time, that stretched from the Zagros Mountains in the east to the shores of Egypt and the Mediterranean in the west. Thinking that he could forever dislodge his northern neighbor from the scene was wishful thinking at best. It just so happened, though, that unlikely allies appeared when least expected. These were the Medes, an Iranian people who occupied large parts of the Zagros Mountains, as well as the western Iranian plateau. The two regional powers eventually struck a deal with the clear objective of eliminating Assyrian influence from the region once and for all. Heavy fighting between the Babylonians and the Assyrians started in 616 BCE. The Babylonians were eventually able to advance all the way to the region of Arapa and then lay siege to the great city of Ashur in the heart of Assyria. The Assyrians, though, counterattacked and pushed the Babylonian forces back to what is today the area of Tikrit in Iraq. It was at this point that the Medes entered the scene. They also fought their way into the region of Arapa and advanced to the city of Ashur in 614 BCE. This time, though, the city fell, with the Medes completely razing it to the ground.
So as you can see, you know how things are beginning to work in favor, okay, of the Babylonians, you know. And one thing about it, Most High, you know, is the Babylonians are coming into power. All right, the empire that will come after Babylon, which is the Medo-Persian Empire, you see, you know, they're all right becoming a factor, you know, on the world stage. All right. So the Lord, hey, that's why, you go into how Jacob held the heel of Esau, showing you that it's going to be a transition of power and ain't going to be no breaks in between. Like the Most High is always gearing up the next power, all right, the next nation to rule, okay? But the thing with us is we'll be the last nation to ever rule, okay? But we just see how the Lord does things according to prophecy, man, because the Medes, all right, are going to eventually, play a part in Daniel the 7th chapter as we read down. It's part of the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay. But when it's time for a nation to come in power, things work in their favor. Okay. For the will of the Lord, all right, to be fulfilled in the earth. Okay. If a brother can post that in Isaiah 46 and 46, 9 and 10. Okay. Yeah, so we see these things playing out. So Nabopolassar, that's pretty much, the Babylonian king who would start, all right, the uprising. They will put an end to the Syrian Empire, with the help, okay, of the Medes, okay, and it's going to show you who he's the father of, all right, as it continues, So the will of the Lord, always plays out exactly how the Lord wants it to play out, All right, it's the brother Yaquab, brother Hopeful Elect 3. This is on Isaiah 46 and 9. It says, remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me. Okay? And how does the Lord separate himself, from all these false deities and idols, that the heathen worship? Okay? He does it through prophecy. Okay? He shows that there's none that can say before and make it come to pass as he does. Okay? And no one else can do that. No other entity can do that. Only the Lord can say before, okay? Have it to be written down, show our forefathers visions of particular things, and my forefathers, the prophet had them scribed and written down, okay? And he will make them come to pass. The Most High will make these things come to pass exactly how he said, okay? Let's go from there. And Bob Kashah, if you can post on the 10th verse too, bro. I'm gonna let this play. If you can post Isaiah 46, 9. 46 and 10.
Shortly after this event, Nabopolassar and the main Babylonian army arrived at Ashur, where he met the Median king, Sayachares. Face. There, the two kings made a formal alliance before heading their separate ways. They met again in the summer of 612 BCE, when the Babylonians and Medes joined forces to take out the Assyrian capital of Nineveh, at that time perhaps the most beautiful and wealthy city in the world. After a 3-month siege, it fell, along with the Assyrian king, Sin-shara-ishkun.
Flock Freight's patented technology trucks to combine your freight with others going the same way.
Despite losing the major centers of their homeland, the remnants of the Assyrian Empire the new and soon-to-be last Assyrian king, Ashur-walid II, reorganized what was left of his forces at the cities of Carchemish and Haran. Sites today located in northern Syria.
Yeah, so as you can see, All right, on this map, how the Syrians are constantly being pushed back. Okay, and then the Babylonians and the Medes, okay, are pretty much going forth and conquering, man. When it's time for you to, all right, hey, when the Lord, this is how the Lord evicts a nation out of power. Okay, then Nineveh, all right, when he said Nineveh was probably the richest city in the world at the time, it made me think of America, man. All right, that great city of America. Okay. Well, you see, all right, the prophecy got the Assyrians on the back foot. Okay. The Babylonians and Medes are just being used, but it's prophecy, okay, that has Assyria on the back foot, just like it's going to have Esau on the back foot in the times to come. All right. Now this is the brother Hopeful Elect 3, the brother Yaqub, Isaiah 46:10 said, declaring the end from the beginning and from the ancient times, the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. Okay, so we're seeing the Lord doing his pleasure, okay, in the earth. All right, that's what he always does. He always does his pleasure, what he says, what he wants. His will always be carried out in the earth, man. Man has no say so against it. All right.
With his Egyptian allies, the Assyrians fought hard, but eventually lost to the Babylonian Median coalition. And with the fall of Haran in 610 BCE, what was left of the Assyrian Empire was wiped off the map forever. The fall of Assyria, for most in the ancient Near East, would have been unimaginable just a generation before. When it fell, few mourned its passing, though many sought to pick up the pieces of what was left of its once great empire. After the fall of Haran, Nabopolassar campaigned in the Levant around Carchemish, which the Egyptians also sought to control. In 605 BCE, his son, Crown Prince Nebuchadnezzar, won a decisive battle against the Egyptians that allowed Babylon to essentially move forward in its control of the entire Levant. Shortly after this, Nabopolassar died, and the crown prince was coronated as Nebuchadnezzar II of Babylon. Though Nabopolassar was arguably one of the greatest freedom fighters of his time, by his own account, he was a humble man who prided himself not on his conquests, but his piety and willingness to be part of a greater divine plan. One of his inscriptions reads,
When I was young, although I was the son of nobody, I constantly sought the sanctuaries of my lords, the gods Nabu and Marduk. My mind was preoccupied with the establishment of their prescriptions and the complete performance of their rituals. My attention was directed at justice and equity. The god Marduk, the Lord who fathoms the hearts of the gods of heaven and the netherworld, who constantly observes the conduct of mankind, perceived my inner thoughts and elevated me, the servant who was anonymous among the people, to a high status in the country in which I was born. He called to me the lordship over the country and the people. He caused a benevolent protective spirit to walk at my side. He let me succeed in everything I undertook.
In another text, he gives some advice to the kings who would come after him.
Any king at any time, whether a son or a grandson who will succeed me, and whose name Marduk will call to exert rulership of the country, do not be concerned with feats of might and power. Seek the sanctuaries of Nabu and Marduk, and let them slay your enemies. The Lord Marduk examines utterances and scrutinizes the heart. He who is loyal to Marduk, his foundations will endure. He who is loyal to the son of Marduk will last for eternity.
So what you see with Nabopolassar, he's pretty much giving credit, all right, to Marduk. It was one of the name, or Merodach, you'll read in the scriptures, is one of the main deities of ancient Babylon. Okay, but we're going to see under Nebuchadnezzar, the Lord going to show him, all right, who's the one making moves in the earth. Okay, he gonna make an example out of Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, because you gotta understand this way of thinking was passed down, all right, from his father, all right, not Palasa, all right, to Nebuchadnezzar the second. Okay, so that way of thinking is the way that these heathens, these heathen rulers would think. They would give, glory to their false deities, all right, for them coming into power, all right. But the Lord would show that He is, okay, as He did, Pharaoh, going back to the time of Exodus, Pharaoh thought that what he was a god, the pharaohs will worship as gods, all right. That's why the Most High hardened his heart, so He can constantly show an example like, nah, this this me, this is all me, you know. I all right, make the final decisions, all right, in the earth, okay. And see, Esau is finna learn that on a major level, okay. So I'm gonna let this play some more.
The new king Nebuchadnezzar spent the next few years marching through the Levant, conquering any areas that refused to recognize him as their new overlord, and collecting substantial sums of tribute, much of which was later used to beautify the capital city of Babylon, something which we'll get to shortly.
Advertising on YouTube helps me reach engaged customers like Jenna, who's been searching for landscapers on Google.
Most of the former Western Assyrian provinces fell into line rather quickly and easily. In their case, it was just a change in management at the top. It was in the southern Levant that the Babylonians encountered stiff resistance. Babylonian Chronicles from the year 604 BCE report that Nebuchadnezzar marched against the city of Ashkelon, captured its king, and then plundered the city before razing it to the ground, which has also been confirmed by archaeology. The most famous kingdom, though, to suffer Nebuchadnezzar's wrath was the kingdom of Judah, with its capital at Jerusalem.
Here we go. Okay, here we go. So you see, all right, Jake on the scene, all right, and see the Bible, okay, is just history. See, history lines up perfectly with the Bible, okay, because the Bible is just history from our perspective, from the perspective of Israel, okay, and it deals with the divine, okay, inspiration that's behind these things that we see in history. Prophecy is the divine, okay, wisdom of what we see playing out in history, in the present, and in the future. Okay, and the Bible is written from the perspective of Israel, what they had going on. All right, so we're gonna let it play some more. Like I said, I hate that it's buffering like that. It would do that on the day, the day I need the most. It's all good. If y'all got any questions, please feel free to ask. Not on the live screen, after, we can get into it, but hopefully it play out, a little better.
In 601 BCE, Judah's king, Jehoiakim, openly challenged Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar's response came a few years later, in 598 or 597 BCE, with an assault on Jerusalem.
The 7th year of Nebuchadnezzar. In the month of Kislevu, the king of Akkad mustered his troops, marched to the Levant, and set up his quarters facing the city of Judah. In the month of Adaru, the 2nd day, he took the city and captured the king. He installed there a king of his choice. He collected its massive tribute and went back to Babylon.
Jehoiakim died during the siege and was quickly succeeded by his son, Jehoiakim, but he was captured and taken prisoner to Babylon as a hostage. In the Babylonian archives, there's an actual receipt that mentions Jehoiakim along with members of his family as the recipients of sesame oil. Reads,
And see, Jake, a lot of people say, Nebuchadnezzar was real. Okay. The Shalmaneser the fifth. All right. The Syrian king. They say all those people was real, but then you have all this Israelite history within these empires because we was captives. Okay. Under, all right, these different heathen empires, man. Okay. So matter of fact, I'm gonna let that. See, can we let that build up over there? And I'm gonna go into this study Bible I got and just go into the history concerning Israel. Okay, let me see if I refresh it.
Mankind might gaze on them in wonder.
Yeah, so I'll let that kind of stage itself. So what I want to get into, I have this study Bible. It's pretty good. Life application study Bible. So NLT, when you're reading the NLT, like I say, it's the Tyndale Life Application Study Bible. And, it's real good for history. It got a lot of timelines. It deals with, maps. It deals with, who is in power. Like, it's a lot of good information in that study Bible. And what I'm going to do is I got the link, all right, for that study Bible. If brothers want to get it, it's about $30. Extremely, it's worth, $30 if you're into, if you're into those things, So let me see if I can. Okay, there we go. Just drop the link for it. For brothers that's interested in too. Study Bibles. I know it's a big help. It's been helping me a lot lately as I've been going into, these different empires. Dealing with Daniel 7th chapter. It says an NLT, so with an NLT Bible, you gotta read it with discretion. Sometimes they put some BS in the mix. Okay, so you have to watch it. But as far as being informative, it's very informative. All right, dealing with what was going on, historically and timelines, maps, gives a few commentaries concerning history, it's a pretty good read. So what I want to do, I want to get this in. I want to go here. And we'll get to the study Bible in a minute. But let's just share the blue letter now. And just go into the history of what was going on. All right. So we'll start at the 2 Kings, the 23rd chapter. And we're gonna do some reading, so we can just be familiar with what was going on in Israel as the Babylonians, all right, was coming into power. The Neo-Babylonian Empire was coming into power. Okay. So let's go here. 2 Kings 23rd. All right. And let's go. You had, which was, considered a righteous king. He had a few hiccups, but he repented, got right. He was considered righteous. The Lord delivered them, from the Assyrians, because the Assyrians attempted, to take, all right, Judah, all right, as well. Okay, but they wasn't allowed to, but the Babylonians were, all right. So you had Hezekiah, then you have his son Manasseh, who was a extremely wicked nigga. He was doing child sacrifice and, extremely wicked nigga. Okay, and then you have Josiah. What Josiah did right, and he pretty much pushed for reform, from the southern kingdom. All right. But he died in, a battle of Egypt. Okay. He died in the battle in Egypt, when the Egyptians were going against the Assyrians. Okay. Josiah, died, and his son, okay, will become king, and then you will start to see this will be the line of kings, that we will see that the Babylonians will begin to start invading, okay, the southern kingdom, Jerusalem, eventually burning the temple and taking, Jake captive to Babylon. Now, this is 2 Kings 2:30. It says, and his servants, and it's the servants of Josiah, is after he was dead, carried him in a chariot dead from Megiddo, and brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own sepulchre. And the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and anointed him and made him king in his father's stead. All right. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And his mother name was Humatal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. And Pharaoh Necho put him in bands. All right. The Egyptian Pharaoh. It says at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem, and put the land to tribute, all right, of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. So this guy, all right, Jehoahaz, only reigned 3 months, all right, before he was removed and pretty much taken hostage, all right, to Egypt. Okay. It says, now what did Egypt do? They put in a puppet leader. Okay. It says, and Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in the room of Josiah his father, and turned his name to Joachim, and took Jehoahaz away, and he came to Egypt and died there. All right. And Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh, but he taxed the land to give the money according to the commandment of Pharaoh. So he was taxing Israel to pay Pharaoh. He said he exacted the silver and the gold of the people of the land, and every one according to his taxation, to give it unto Pharaoh. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother name was Zebudah, the daughter of Pedaiah and Ramah. And he did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. So we see a trend of evil kings, all right, on the southern kingdom, the kingdom of Judah, all right, through who? Babylon. So now we see Nebuchadnezzar come on the scene. All right, 2 Kings 24:1 says, in his days Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up, and Joachim became his servant 3 years. Then he turned and rebelled against him. All right, Jake got cute. Okay. It says, and the Lord sent against him bands of the Chaldeans, and bands of the Syrians, and bands of the Moabites, and bands of the children of Ammon, and sent them against Judah to destroy it, according to the word which the Lord spake, all right, by his servants, the prophets. Okay, because Jeremiah was always warning Jake, all right, that what Babylon was getting ready to do. Okay, he was always warning Jake. He and Jeremiah even warned the other nations. So let's get it, because we always read this in the book of Jeremiah 28. Jake want to be, cute and rebel. Let's see. So let's get to Jeremiah 28:8. And it says, the prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms of war and of evil and of pestilence. Okay. So Jeremiah, when you go to the chapter before, matter of fact, I'm Let's see if I'm gonna play some of this video, then we'll come back into it. Okay. But when you see, how, when you go into just secular history, it intertwines with the Bible. Okay. Israel was there. These different empires that, came into power. Okay. Israel was there. Okay. And they was captives to all those kingdoms that came, those heathen kingdoms that came into power. All right. Um during that time, from the Syrians all the way up to the Romans. Okay. Now you have let's see, verse 3, this 2 Kings 24:3 says, surely at the commandment of the Lord came this upon Judah to remove them out of his sight, and the sins of Manasseh according to all that he had did, and also for the innocent blood that he shed, because Manasseh was, like I say, he was doing child sacrifice. Okay, wow. It says, for he filled Jerusalem with innocent blood, which the Lord would not pardon. Now the rest of the acts of Joachim and all that he did, are they not written in the books of the Chronicles of the King? All right. So it says, so Joachim slept with his father, and Joachim, his son, reigned in his stead. And the king of Egypt came not again any more out of the land, for the king of Babylon had taken from the river of Egypt unto the river Euphrates all that pertained to the king of Egypt. So now Babylon has dominated Egypt. Okay, so now Judea has to answer directly to Babylon. Okay, they're not a vassal, of Egypt anymore. Okay, so now the kingdom of Judah has to answer directly to Babylon. It says Joachim was 18 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 3 months, and his mother's name was Nehushta, the daughter of Elnathan of Jerusalem. And he did which was evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his father had done. At this time, the servants of Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against Jerusalem, and the city was, besieged. And Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came against the city, and his servants did besiege it. And Joachim, the king of Judah, went out to the king of Babylon, he and his mother and his servants and his princes and his officers, and the king of Babylon took him in the 8th year of his reign. So he took the whole court, the whole king's court, and we're gonna go to the history. They found a receipt that proved that Joachim, was in his court, his wives and his certain officers, and his servants were taken, to captive unto Babylon. It says, and he carried out thence all the treasures of the house of the Lord and the treasures of the king's house, and he put in pieces all the vessels of gold which Solomon, king of Israel, had made in the temple of the Lord, as the Lord had said. And he carried away all Jerusalem, and all the princes, and all the mighty men, even 10,000 captives, and all the craftsmen and smith. None remained save the poorest, of the people of the land. So this also lines up with the book of Daniel, when they took pretty much, the choice men, in particular essential, men captive, out of out of the southern kingdom, out of Judah. Now you had a few exiles. You had one exile in 605 is when they got Daniel, he was taken captive, and then you had another one in like 597, and that's when Ezekiel was taken captive. Then Ezekiel started his prophecy in Babylon in like 593, roughly about 6 years later, 5 years later after he was taken captive. And then you just have the complete demolishment, of the temple, and the taking, of the remainder, except a few they left, to till the land. So you had 3 exiles, when it goes to Babylon. Now this is the first one, under Joachim, the father of Joachim, in which they took Daniel. So this is Daniel 1 They took Daniel and those three Hebrew boys, Ananiah, Mishael, all right, and Azariah. Okay. And it said, this is Daniel 1:1. It says, in the third year of the reign of Joachim, king of Judah, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, into Jerusalem and besieged it. And the Lord gave Joachim, king of Judah, into his hand with part of the vessels of the house of gold, which he carried, all right, into the land of Shinar, the house of his God. And he brought the vessels, okay, into the treasure of the house of his God. And the king spake unto Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and the king's seed, and the princes, children in whom was no blemish, well favored, and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning knowledge and understanding, science, and such as had ability to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans. Okay, so these things, all right, was happening, all right, in the earth, man. And like I said, the Bible just gives the perspective, okay, from Israel. Okay, so let's see, it should play now, you know. And so I just want to go into a little bit of that history, you know, to kind of show you how it links with, you know, secular history, man. You know, it's undeniable. You know, that's why I say history is a like a faith boost. You know, so let's share the video again and try to run it back a little bit so we can hear him.
Covered their roofs by laying majestic cedars lengthwise over them. Cedarwood trimmed with bronze in
Jehoiakim died during the siege and was quickly succeeded by his son, Jehoiakim, but he was captured and taken prisoner to Babylon as a hostage. In the Babylonian archives, there's an actual receipt that mentions Jehoiakim along with members of his family as the recipient of sesame oil. It reads,
32 pints for Jehoiakim, king of Judah, 5 pints for the sons of the king of Judah, 8 pints for 8 men of Judah, 1 pint each.
Though named as the king of Judah in the text, Nebuchadnezzar installed Jehoiakim's uncle, Zedekiah, as the vassal ruler of Judah. It wasn't long, though, before Zedekiah also revolted against Nebuchadnezzar. Our only source for this is the Hebrew Bible, because the specific Babylonian chronicle for that period, Chronicle 24, ends around the year 594 BCE. The story goes that Nebuchadnezzar marched again on Judah and held the city of Jerusalem under siege for 2 years before capturing it, and this time destroying it along with its great temple, which scholars believe all occurred in the year 586 BCE. In addition, he took an even greater percentage of the population back to Babylonia with him as exiles. Judah, though, wasn't the only land to suffer. Shortly afterward, Nebuchadnezzar seems to have meted out the same fate to both Ammon and Moab. Scholars have speculated that all of these regions were subject to a sort of scorched earth policy because the Babylonians were also at war with the Egyptians and didn't want them to gain a hold of any territory in the Levant. In fact, the only rebellious land or city that completely escaped subjugation, at least for a time, was the Phoenician city-state of Tyre, the main part of which was located on an island and evaded capture. After a reportedly 13-year-long siege, its king came to an agreement with Nebuchadnezzar where Tyre was allowed to be ruled by local kings in return for vassalage and the use of its large fleet, which essentially became the Babylonian navy. Though the Babylonian armed forces were campaigning and causing havoc to the west, there was peace and prosperity at home. This allowed Nebuchadnezzar to commission many building projects that essentially transformed Babylon into once again the world's most beautiful and wealthy city. Though there's little evidence of the famous Hanging Gardens, plenty of textual information has been found at the site of ancient Babylon and other cities detailing all of the temples, palaces, elaborate gardens, and defensive wall restorations that Nebuchadnezzar II commissioned. In one text, the Babylonian king himself describes how he was active in the city's renovation.
This street of Babylon having become increasingly lower, I pulled down the gates and relaid their foundations at the water table with asphalt and bricks. I had them remade of bricks with blue stone, on which wonderful bulls and dragons were depicted. I covered their roofs by laying majestic cedars lengthwise over them. I fixed doors of cedar wood, trimmed with bronze in all of the gates. I placed wild bulls and ferocious dragons in the gateways, and thus adorned them with luxurious splendor, so that mankind might gaze on them in wonder.
Though it's believed that he himself didn't visit the city, Herodotus in the 5th century BCE wrote of Babylon's vast size and grandeur according to what he'd probably heard from others.
The city stands on a broad plain, and is an exact square, 120 stadia in length each way, so that the entire circuit is 480 stadia. While such is its size and magnificence, there is no other city that approaches to it. It is surrounded, in the first place, by a broad and deep moat, full of water, behind which rises a wall 50 royal cubits in width and 200 in height.
It wasn't just Babylon that benefited from such programs, but also cities such as Borsippa, where the god Nabu's main temple was, and Uruk. Most of this, of course, was funded from the spoils of Nebuchadnezzar's many conquests. Nebuchadnezzar died in late 562 BCE and was succeeded by his son, Amel-Marduk, whose short reign of only 2 years started the gradual decline of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. It's perhaps for this reason that the Babylonian historian Berosus, writing in Greek in the 4th century BCE, claims that he was killed by his brother-in-law, Neriglissar, who then seized the throne for himself and reigned as king for 4 years. Documents discovered at Uruk have led some scholars to believe that Neriglissar had married a daughter of Nebuchadnezzar, named Kashea, which may have helped to have supported his claim to the throne. During those 4 years, he campaigned in Cilicia and also claimed to have crossed into Lydia, the most powerful kingdom of Western Anatolia at that time. However, he died shortly after his return to Babylon and was succeeded by his son, Labashi-Marduk, who only reigned for a few weeks before he himself was ousted and replaced by the man who would become the last true king of Babylon, Nabonidus.
So now, you pretty much, we're going to start to see Babylon decline, after Nebuchadnezzar. All right. It's pretty much, a decline going all the way up into the Medo-Persian Empire. Okay. So what I want to do is, all right, go here to show you that it was the Lord that commissioned, all right, Nebuchadnezzar, okay, to do what he was doing. All right. And then we're going to go into how the Lord broke, all right, Nebuchadnezzar, all right, from that pride. All right, now, let's get this in the book of Jeremiah. Okay, this is Jeremiah 27. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah, chapter 27, verse 1. It says, the nation to submit to Nebuchadnezzar. It says, in the beginning of the reign of Joachim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came this word unto Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, and see, the prophets would always tell, all right, the rulers of the earth, like, okay, this is what the Lord is finna do. You see, as a matter of fact, let's get that real quick in. Ain't the same book. What did the Lord tell Jeremiah? All right. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, okay, verse 10. It says, I'll start at 9. Jeremiah 1 and 9, it said, Then the Lord put forth his hand and touched my mouth. And the Lord said unto me, Behold, I have put my words in thy mouth. So as we come out of the Bible and prophesy, these are the words of the Lord. The prophets are just the messengers, all right? And the prophets just have the insight, all right, of what these words are going into, okay, giving a breakdown of the Lord's message to the earth, okay, repentance to his people, all right, the consequences of not repenting, all right, and he's letting through the prophets, he's letting these nations, all right, these rulers of these nations know, okay, this is what's next, okay, your rulership is over, this who finna come next, okay, you finna do this, you this the part you play, all right. You see, Jeremiah 1 and 10 says, See, I have set this day, I have this day set thee over the nations and over the kingdoms to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build, to plant, okay, to root out and to pull down and to destroy and to throw down, to build and to plant, all right. So when the prophet will come, they will let nations know, look, you finna be thrown down, okay, this nation finna be planted. All right. And right now, Esau's kingdom, all right, is being pulled up, rooted out. All right. First spiritually. And then, all right, Israel is going to be planted and built. Okay. So let's go here back to Jeremiah. All right. And Jeremiah told these niggas, man. All right. What the Lord was about to do concerning Nebuchadnezzar. It says, In the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim, the son of Josiah, king of Judah, came the word of Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Thus said the Lord to me, Make thee bonds and yokes, and put them upon thy neck, and set them, okay, and set them to the king of Edom, and to the king of Moab, and to the king of the Ammonites, and to the king of Tyrus, and to the king of Zidon, by the hand of the messengers which come to Jerusalem unto Zedekiah, all right, king of Judah. It says, I have made the earth, the man and the beast are upon the ground, all right, by my great power and by my outstretched arm, and have given it unto whom, all right, it seemed meet, okay, unto me. And now have I given all these lands in the hand, all right, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, my servant, and the beast of the field have I given him also to serve him, and all the nations shall serve him, and his son and his king and his son's son, until the very time of his land come, which is the end. And then many nations and great kingdoms shall serve themselves, all right, of him. And it shall come to pass that the nation and the kingdom which will not serve the same Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, and that I will, it said that, and that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon, that nation will I punish, said the Lord, with the sword and with famine and with pestilence, until I have consumed them by his hand. Okay, so the Lord is giving a decree like, look, Nebuchadnezzar next. Okay, and if you don't bow down, you're going to suffer sword, famine, and pestilence. Just as he says in our kingdom, if the nations don't come and reverence our holy days, what? That nation will not get any rain, which would be like what they call a day of sanction, economical sanction, man. All right, it's going to be a famine because without rain, nothing grows. Okay. See, the Lord makes the call, all right, in the heavens, and it's played out in the earth. Okay, and the prophets are the messengers. It says, therefore, hearken not ye to your prophets, nor to your diviners, nor to your dreamers, nor to your enchanters, nor to your sorcerers which speak, okay, unto you, saying, ye shall not serve the king of Babylon. For the prophecy For they prophesy a lie unto you to remove you far from your land, and that I should drive you out, and ye, all right, shall perish. But the nation that bring their neck under the yoke of king of Babylon and serve him, those will I let remain still in their own land, said the Lord, and they shall till it and dwell therein. And we seen that with Tyre, okay, which they came to an agreement to serve Nebuchadnezzar, and they was able to stay in their land, okay, and pretty much just be a vassal unto Babylon. All right. Well, what did what did Judah do? What did what did niggas do, man? Rebel. Okay. And what happened? Let's get this in lamentation. Okay. This is the result of horrible leadership, man. Okay. Jeremiah with Jake, look, Nebuchadnezzar's gonna come into power, like, fall back, but Jake gonna try to scheme, make alliances. All right. So you go to the book of Lamentation, okay. This is after the Babylonians had came and Jake had suffered famine and they were sieged. And, the Babylonian armies pretty much came in slaughtering. Okay. This is Lamentation 2:20 says, Behold, O Lord, and consider to whom thou hast done this. Shall the women eat their fruit and the children of a span long? So they were eating their children, okay, newborns. Shall the priests and the prophets be slain in the sanctuary of the Lord? The young and old lie on the ground in the streets. My virgins and my young men are fallen by the sword. Thou hast slain them in the day of thine anger. Thou hast killed and not pity. Okay? Because what did Jake do? They rebelled. Okay? And the Lord allowed the Babylonians to wreak havoc on Jake, man. Okay? But what was the dealing with Nebuchadnezzar, when he became proud, all right, just as Esau has become extremely proud. All right, let's get that in Daniel, the 4th chapter. Okay, and what does it say? The king acknowledges the Most High, and show you that these heathens have a mindset, through judgment to eventually reverence, all right, the Most High. All the nations except for Esau, and that's why he's going to be done away with. All right, this is Daniel 4:1 said, Nebuchadnezzar the king unto all the people, nations, and languages that dwell in the earth, peace be multiplied unto you. I thought it good to show the signs and wonders that the high God have wrought toward me. How great are his signs and how mighty are his wonders. His kingdom is an everlasting kingdom, and his dominion is from generation, all right, is from generation to generation. And that's the Lord, all right, putting the spirit on Nebuchadnezzar, to speak in truth. Okay, remember they was giving reverence to Marduk for their victory. Okay, but the Lord is going to make an example out of Nebuchadnezzar to where they see, okay, it's the they would say the God of Daniel, the Most High God of Daniel, he's doing these things. All right, it says, I, Nebuchadnezzar, was at rest in my house and flourishing in my palace. I saw a dream which made me afraid, and the thoughts upon my bed and the visions of my head troubled me. Therefore made I a decree to bring in all. All right, therefore I made a decree to bring in all the wise men of Babylon before me, that they might make known unto me the interpretation of the dream. Then came in the magicians, the astrologers, the Chaldeans, the soothsayers, and I told the dream before them, but they did not make known unto me the interpretation thereof. But at last Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my God, and in whom is the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, okay, and the Lord always, that's why scripture says how the Lord gives his secrets to who? The prophets. Okay, these heathens don't have access, all right, to the heathens. They're witches and warlocks, soothsayers. They have particular, left hand knowledge, but it's limited. But see, with on the right hand side through his prophets, you know, they have the secrets, okay, that no one else has, man. You know, just as during the time of Joseph. I saw it said, but at the last, Daniel came in before me, whose name was Belshazzar, according to the name of my power, in whom the spirit of the holy gods. And before him I told the dream, saying, O Belshazzar, master of the magicians, because I know that the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. Okay, he's still trying to give reverence, you know, to their gods. All right, he's trying to make it seem as if Daniel was operating through, okay, those false gods. You know, he called him a magician. It says, and no secret troubleth thee. Tell me the visions of my dream that I have seen and the interpretation thereof. Thus were the visions of my head, all right, of my head in my bed. I saw and behold a tree in the midst of the earth, and the height all right, fruit thereof much. And it says, and in it was the meat for all. The beast of the field had shadow under it, and the fowls of the heaven dwelt in the bowls thereof, and all the flesh, okay, fed on it. I saw in the visions of my head upon my bed, and behold, a watchtower, and an holy one came down from heaven, and he cried aloud and said, thus, hew down, all right, the tree, and cut off his branches, shake off his leaves, and scatter his fruit. Let the beasts get away from under it, and the fowls, all right, from his branches. Nevertheless, leave the stump of his root in the earth, and even, all right, with a band of iron and brass, and in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast in the grass of the earth. Let his heart be changed from man's, and let a beast's heart be given unto him. Let 7 times, all right, which is a complete duration of time, let 7 times pass over him. This matter is by the decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent. So the angel is like, look, this is a, a matter of the Most High. Okay, this the purpose of all this is the angel is going into the purpose of what's being decreed. This matter is by decree of the watchers, and the demand by the word of the holy ones, to the intent that the living may know that the Most High ruleth in kingdoms of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will, and set it up over it the basis of men. This dream I, King Nebuchadnezzar, have seen. Now, O Belshazzar, declare the interpretation thereof, for as much as all the wise men of my kingdom are not able to make known unto me the interpretation, but thou art able, for the spirit of the holy gods is in thee. All right. It said, then Daniel, whose name was Belshazzar, was astonished for an hour, and his thoughts troubled him. The king spake and said, Belshazzar, let not the dream or the interpretation thereof trouble thee. Belshazzar answered and said, my lord, the dream be to them that hate thee, and the interpretation therefore to thine enemies. The tree that saw was grew and was strong, whose height reached unto the heaven, and the sights, all right, thereof to all the earth, whose leaves were fair, and the fruit thereof much, and it was meat for all, under which the beasts of the field dwelt, and upon whose branches the fowls of heaven had their habitation. It is thou, O king, thou art grown and become strong, for thy greatness is grown and reacheth unto heaven, and thy dominion, all right, unto the end of the earth. And whereas the king saw a watcher and the holy one coming down from heaven, and saying, hewn the tree down and destroy it, yet leave the stump, all right, of the roots therein in the earth, even with a band of iron and brass, all right, in the tender grass of the field, and let it be wet with the dew of heaven, and let his portion be with the beast of the field till 7 times pass over him. This is the interpretation, O king, and this is the decree of the Most High. All right, so Daniel like, no, this is the decree of the Most High. Okay, not your so-called holy gods. This decree is from the Most High. Okay, which is come upon my lord the king. that they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field, and they shall make thee to eat grass as of oxen, and they shall wet thee with the dew of heaven, and 7 times shall pass over till thou know that the Most High, okay, this gonna happen until it clicks within you that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and give it to whomsoever he will. And whereas they commanded to leave the stump of the tree roots, thy kingdom shall be sure unto thee. After that thou shalt have known that the heavens do rule. Wherefore, O king, let my counsel be acceptable unto thee, and break out from thy sins by righteousness, and thy iniquities by showing mercy to the poor, if it may be a lengthening of thy tranquility. So Daniel's like, look, you might want to make some adjustments, okay? But no, the Lord already had his mind made up what he's going to do. It says, and all this came upon the king Nebuchadnezzar, and at the end of 12 months he walked in the palace, all right, of the kingdom of Babylon. The king spake and said, is not this Babylon that I have built for the house, the kingdom, by the might of my power, and for the honor of my majesty? Proud, okay, proud as hell. So he's looking out over the things that he has have built within his rulership, and he's giving himself the credit. It says, while the word was in the king's mouth, there fell a voice from heaven saying, O King Nebuchadnezzar, to thee it is spoken, the kingdom is departed from thee, and they shall drive thee from men, and thy dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make thee to eat grass as oxen, and 7 times shall pass over thee, until thou know that the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men, and giveth it to whomsoever he will. The same hour was the thing fulfilled upon Nebuchadnezzar, and he was driven from men, and did eat grass as oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of heaven, till his hairs were grown like eagles' feathers, and his nails like birds' claws. And at the end of days, I Nebuchadnezzar lifted up my eyes unto heaven, and my understanding returned to me, and I blessed the Most High, and praised and honored him that liveth forever, whose dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom from generation to generation, the everlasting kingdom. Okay, Israel is the only nation. That's why Israel is the only nation to have an everlasting kingdom. Because why? We're the sons of the Most High God. Okay, it says, and all the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing, and he doeth according to his will in the army of heaven and among the inhabitants of the earth, and none can stay his hand or say unto him, what doest thou? At the same time, my reason returned unto me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and brightness returned unto me, and my counsels and my Lord sought me out, and I was established in my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added unto me. Okay, now I Nebuchadnezzar praise and install and honor the King of heaven. He's talking about the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, all whose works are truth, and his ways judgment, and those that talk in pride he is able to abase. Okay, so the Lord proved a major point within this Neo-Babylonian empire dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. And then after Nebuchadnezzar, all right, we will see the Babylonian empire on decline, okay, leading into the conquering of the Medo-Persian, okay, the Medo-Persian empire, all right, which Lord will, we'll get into that next, just as the brother put, we'll get into that Daniel the 5th chapter, segue into the Medo-Persian empire, So yeah, brother, hold them precepts for the next one, brother. But hey, you right on, you in the spirit. You see, and we're gonna touch on that. All right, but that's it for now. I just want to bring that out. All right. Say, Lord, next time we'll go into the fall of, the Neo-Babylonian empire leading into the Medo-Persian, and then we'll go into the Greeks, after that, Lord will, and just continue to get understanding on the history and be edified. Yeah. So, Lord will, you brothers, All right, and you sisters were edified. Till next time, I'll say Shalom. Kwam Yashala. Abab Abal. DTA soon. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahushua. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahushua. Barakatah Yahweh. Barakatah Yahushua. Ka Allah Imla Yahweh Shema Shah. Shalom.